having this discussion.
From a personal perspective, what it says to me is that there would be a full range of information provided to a client.
Okay, and would you agree with me that if, and this is the statistics, so I'll just give you the statistics. Planned Parenthood performs, let's see, 164,000 abortions and makes a less than 1% referral for adoption or birth services. You'd agree with me there's not much Planned Parenthood going on at Planned Parenthood, would you? 120 in every
every
1,000.
I think, though, to be fair, when you talk about Planned Parenthood, I mean, it's also planning for non-parenthood, too.
Okay, so then maybe they should change their name. Can we require, similarly, that Planned Parenthood will be required to put up a sign in its facilities indicating that, generally speaking, it doesn't make any sorts of planning for parenthood, and that if persons are interested in maintaining their pregnancy, they should go see one of these other providers.
What we haven't really talked about is what kind of prenatal care Planned Parenthood offers. And so I think this gets back to the idea of having a variety of services available to meet the needs of the woman.
Okay, that's perfectly reasonable. You also said that some centers do this, some centers do that, and then you're referring to these crisis pregnancy centers. Do you have any direct evidence, does the city have any data, any collection of data to indicate that these centers do any of the things you allege they did in terms of statistics? Do we have any reports conducted by your department, the Department of Consumer Affairs, any Inspector General's offices, indicating that any of these centers have done anything which is illegal, in violation of the law, or in violation of state or local laws or ordinances?
What we have are the anecdotal reports of our community partners, as well as views of websites that we've been alerted to.
Would you agree with me that a website that said, or a clinic that said its name was the Maternity Birth Care Services, or the Sisters of Life, or Bridge to Life, they're pretty clear they're about life, not about abortion. Would you agree with me, at least in those names, that those centers clearly aren't offering abortion services? They're offering women who've chosen not to have abortions someplace to get support. Would you agree with me there?
Well,
based on those names?
Well, because a 15 or a 16-year-old who's looking for help may not be able to distinguish that difference that you and I can distinguish.
Okay. Commissioner, Deputy...
Councilmember, if you can just wrap up, we have about
Sure.
the other people that are
Sure, I have two more questions.
Thank you.
Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner, with regards to, your statement that we're looking for truth in advertising, would you believe that the City of New York should regulate its signage based on what the common adults would think, not what maybe some child would think, so that names like Sisters of Life, Bridge to Life, maternity and birth care services seem to be what they say they are, as opposed to what this bill seems to indicate you want them to think they are, which is something else? It seems to be pretty clear if I'm running the Bridge to Life or Sisters of Life or an organization called Maternity Birth Care Services, I'm talking about carrying a pregnancy to fulfillment. There's nothing deceptive in that name, is there, Commissioner? Is there?
We actually haven't had any experience in this arena. What I would say about disclosures is that they simply need to be very clear. We never assume anyone knows something from a name or a title. We ask that full disclosures be given. We do this in many areas, tax preparers, immigrant service providers. You can call yourself whatever you like, but you have to disclose to the consumer precisely what it is you do or you are not allowed to do.
Okay, that's the key, Commissioner. Where else do we say that someone has a positive requirement to say what they do not do?
Tax preparers and immigrant service providers, and I'll be happy to send you.
Tax and immigrant service.
Tax preparers, commercial
Right.
tax preparers.
Which can't offer legal advice. And similarly, nor can...
And and immigrant service providers. There are probably a number of other categories, that I would have to look at, but those are two very prominent ones.
And well, I guess some of those tax preparers and immigrant services are not-for-profits, right? Some of them would be. I would guess. Are you talking about all the paid? Oh, commercial. How about our not-for-profit ones? Do we require that sort of?
The Department of Consumer Affairs does not regulate the not-for-profit.
Oh, but it's going to regulate these not-for-profits. Commissioner, please, is that accurate? You're telling me, and I'm very grateful you went down this road with me, that the reality is...
We don't know whether they're for-profit or not-for-profit. I have no knowledge about that.
Well, Commissioner, I would just ask that in the future you provide my office with information with regards to that. It's my belief that you don't do this with any other not-for-profit, and that you just sort of realized that when you gave your testimony right now. But thank you, Madam Chair.
I have a question for the Department of Health. This is in reference to good medical practices on counseling women on contraceptives. What would be the good medical practices, or what's the best way to counsel a woman on contraceptives?
The best form of counseling is to make sure that with every primary care and well care visit, the discussion of contraception occur for women of reproductive age. That includes discussing what the contraceptive needs are of that woman, what kinds of options exist, certainly as the technologies change and the satisfaction with the current method. That applies to all primary care providers for women of reproductive age. That would be family physicians, pediatricians, obstetricians,